right now we are discussing the Charvaka philosophy. There is a beautiful play. It is with the title Prabodh Chandrodaya. And this play is written by someone called Krishna Mishra from Mithila, somewhere around 11th century. This play is mentioned in the Indian philosophy book by Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan. So in that book, Prabodh Chandrodaya is mentioned, and the beauty of this play is that the author Krishna Mishra wants to ridicule the Buddhist, the Charvakas, the Jaina thinkers, the Kapalikas, different, in fact, non-Vedic Indian traditions. And the purpose of his repudiation of all these non-Vedic systems is to show how the Vedanta philosophy is superior, how the Vedanta philosophy is having a spiritual advantage over all these non-Vedic traditions. So this play is a beautiful play. Krishna Mishra is a Vedantin scholar, and he wants to propagate the message of the Vedanta through play. And with that purpose, he wrote Prabodh Chandrodaya, but he followed the same pattern which you see in the scholarship in those philosophical texts. He repudiated, he refuted the positions of other thinkers in order to establish his own viewpoint through a play. And you know that learning philosophical viewpoints through literature is much more enjoyable than reading any difficult philosophy text. So there he very beautifully captures the Charvaka position in a sloka. I will not bother you about that, but I will certainly like to mention the cryptic nature of that. So Krishna Mishra belongs to 11th century, and he is a Maithil Brahmin. So Mithila. Where is Mithila? Do you have any idea regarding the geography? Mithila kahan hai? Right now it is eastern Bihar. Mithila is the border of Bengal and West Bengal and Bihar. So there you find Mithila region, and there was a time when this region was known for wonderful scholarship and very good traditional learning centers. So he wrote this play. In this play, he beautifully captures the philosophy of Charvaka in a very short sloka. So what he says, and I'm putting that point-wise, whatever we have discussed so far regarding the Charvaka philosophy, if you look at your body, your own being, certainly you can see earth, water, fire, air elements inside your body. But then you're talking about your experience, right? You're talking about experience. What about this very thing, experience? How does it come from all the elements which are constituting your body? You cannot say that your experience is identical with earth element in your body, or your experience is identical with water element in your body, right? Your experience is such a subjective phenomenon which cannot be reductively understood in terms of the accumulation of water, earth, fire, air, etc. So what is this experience? We need to have some understanding. We need to explain this, right? And this demand is pressed on to the Charvaka philosophy that you propose that only these are the four elements. So what about experience? Experience is not recognized in your system, in your Charvaka philosophy as any element. Experience is not recognized as the property of any other substance. You accept only earth, water, fire, and air. So, to which experience belongs? So, the Charvaka philosophers have a very fantastic proposal to offer. So, the Charvaka thinkers say that look, experience is a kind of unique feeling, and this unique feeling is an emergent property. It emerges because of a unique combination of the material elements. Now, where experience is taking place? Experience is taking place in a living body, a body which is living. How do you have life in a particular body? The Charvaka says that the life of a particular body is because of a unique composition of these material elements: earth, water, fire, and air. And they give a nice analogy. They say that look at the madakata or intoxication in wine. शराब में जो नशा होता है, ये नशा क्या है? शराब में नशा है क्या? ये आता कहाँ से है? जैसे मान लीजिए आपका अंगूर, ग्रेप्स है, ग्रेप वाइन बनता है ना, तो फर्मेंटेशन, थ्रू फर्मेंटेशन you generate intoxication property in grapes. Similarly, you have sugar cane juice, गन्ने का रस होता है. So आप फर्मेंटेशन करते हैं, फर्मेंटेशन से वो शराब बन जाता है, राइट? ऐसे इफ यू आर फेमिलियर विथ द देसी महुआ ब्रांड, देसी शराब जो महुए का बनाते हैं, अब तो बहुत ही पता नहीं बनता है कि नहीं, तो वो भी थ्रू फर्मेंटेशन. सो थ्रू फर्मेंटेशन यू generate intoxication in grapes or in sugarcane juice or in mahua juice, and this way you have a new property. You have a new property of intoxication, nasha, in the composition of the same elements through a process. So this property, nasha or intoxication, is emerging because of fermentation of the same elements. It is not something which is coming from any other source than the material composition of grapes or sugarcane juice, etc. Material to wahi hai. The composition which was earlier before fermentation is changed, is transformed into a different features. So this nasha or intoxication is a new property which is emerging because of the transformation of the relationship between the elements which were there earlier. So the Charvaka thinkers consider the same analogy to explain life in a particular body. They say that life is nothing but just an emergent property, and this emergent property is because of the unique composition of that body. And a body continues its life so long as that unique composition is maintained, and life simply goes away the moment you lose that composition. All these thinkers, they are usually called the thinkers of the Charvaka system, and we see that all the proposals which we just discussed about the Charvaka philosophy are the proposals coming from these thinkers. And remember, they were not just saying something, they were living up to whatever they were saying. So there is a very close relationship between the thought processes, the thinking, and the way of living. And these are the exemplars who suggest certain viewpoints towards the reality. And the purpose of that suggestion is to enable the people to live life on this planet in a better way.